this is an amazing new field of study. And it goes along, it's as big as the discovery of the genome. You've heard of the genome. The genome was the discovery of the human gene by Watson and Crick in the mid 1950s that actually then explained how we make what's called RNA, and RNA make proteins, and this is all protein. So we are formed by that code, and that is now referred to as the genome. Then in the early 2000s, a new study blew open, and a whole new system that was as big in its effect on the human body was discovered. And this is the gut biome, or the microbiome. And I want to introduce you to a new field of research, the electrome. The bottom line is electricity is doing far more than we ever realized to organize our body and facilitate important biological processes from conception throughout our entire life. So, how does this actually apply to a patient? I want to just share with you how significant a change this can be. And the reason I tell this story is this patient, the only thing that they added to their regimen that resulted in any change was electromagnetic activation. This patient had a rather challenging history. She had debilitating migraines for years and years. They finally realized that this was caused by excessive mucus production in her sinuses in the head, and the pressure of this congestion was exacerbating the headaches. So they decided that they would remove the endothelial tissue. This is the tissue that makes mucus. And they did one surgery, and then they did a second surgery, and they're still having the headaches. They do a third surgery, still having the headaches. And finally, they wanted to do a fourth surgery. She was like, no, enough is enough. And she started to look for other solutions. She came to me. We started to do osteopathy, and specifically cranial osteopathy, which relates to the actual organization and motion of the cranial bones. And she started to actually get improvement, and she had her headaches were decreased in severity, in longevity. She started to need fewer medications, which was really great because she started taking less steroids. She's now taking less antibiotics. The antibiotics really are hard on the gut biome that I referred to earlier, because they not only wipe out the bad bacteria that's causing your infection, but they do have an effect on the gut. And so that's a whole part of that system. But she started to need less medications, and that was very rewarding. But when I went to Africa, I alluded to this earlier, I saw an opportunity. I'd been saying to her, please, would you consider acquiring a cloud? And she would say, well, I don't feel anything when I lay on this. I don't really know. I'm really skeptical. She didn't say I'm skeptical, but she was very skeptical. So I said, I'm going to be away for 3 weeks. I will make it possible for you to take my cloud. And here's the regimen I want you to do. I want you to use it twice daily in the morning, once at night. So the last appointment before I left, she had a sinus infection that had been going on for 2 months. She had seen 2 ear, nose, throat specialists, and they had given her 2 rounds of antibiotics, and nothing was working. They had tried steroids. Nothing was working. So the only thing that changes is she starts to lie on the cloud. And so that's why I'm bringing this patient up, because it's a good experiment. And because that's the only change. And within 10 days, the 2-month sinus infection resolved. There was no other change. It was the electromagnetic activation. And so today I'm going to talk about why that's possible, what that electromagnetic activation is actually doing in the body that makes this possible. And a nice addition to that, two things. She, instead of having 3 to 4 migraines a month, she has 2 migraines. Sorry, she had 3 to 4 migraines weekly. She has 2 migraines for the entire month. And she only needed to take her medication, her migraine medication, once. I mean, this is remarkable. And the last thing is she's very lethargic and has problems with energy and getting even the basics in life done. And she said, I'm having days where I feel like my old self again. So what happened? What's going on? And the answer lies in this basic metabolic panel, something that if you've gone to the doctor, every doctor orders this. They either order a complex or a basic metabolic panel. What is that measuring? This is the blood work that the doctor orders for you. And what is that measuring? And look what it's measuring. I have it up here. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see these ions, these electrically charged minerals, sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium. I've made it larger here. And so these ions, these are electrically charged particles, and they are at the basis of electrical physiology in the body. And so the electrical body was first discovered in the late 1700s by a scientist, Galvani, who was experimenting with frogs' legs. And maybe you've seen this in a basic high school biology class. And hopefully they don't use poor frogs anymore, but the frog's legs would actually twitch when applied with an electrical current. And the scientists at the time, they started to accept it, but then there was another scientist, Volta, who the term volt, as in voltage, he claimed that there was no such thing as biological electricity. And so biological electricity has been relegated to a back burner for a long, long time. And it wasn't until really the mid 1800s that they conclusively proved that the nervous system was running on electricity. And it wasn't actually until the 1950s that they proved the system by which the nervous system runs on electricity. And I'm going to review that in brief detail today so you can understand how electrophysiology works. Following the nervous system, the cardiac system, the heart, was proven to work on electricity. And by the late 1890s, they had created the precursor to this, the EKG, electrocardiogram. And the first machines were massive, but eventually we got to the point today, this is in clinics and hospitals. And I do want to make a point here, which is the leads that you are connected to the human body to generate this electrocardiogram. Where do they go? Well, they go on an arm, they'll go on a leg, and they'll go across the chest. So I don't know if you can see, I'll tip down. I have my hands, I can put my hands on my skin and I don't feel any electricity. And the point I want to make is that the electrocardiogram does feel electricity. So the amount of electricity that is generating through the cells, whether they're cardiac cells, neural cells, it's very small. And the corresponding electricity that the mat and the electromagnetic waves forms that the mat is using, the cloud is using, are matched to the electromagnetic forces of the cells. So when people lie on the mat and they say, I'm not feeling anything. Well, put your fingers where the electrocardiogram leads go, and why don't you feel anything either? And do you doubt this? But the EKG, but no, this is being conclusively proven. And here, this is proof that the nervous system works off electricity. This is a measurement of the brain's electrical activity.